are back, and today we're going to go over how we go from this to this. That's the whole video, is really diving into this process. Shout out to Greg Haskins. He asked for this breakdown, and really that's all it takes for you folks to get help. If you want information on photo or video stuff that I do, just let me know. I will put that topic on my list to make a video for it. Okay, so let's jump in. There are 4 main pieces that we're going to dive into. The things that make this photo go from okay to where it is now is the mountains, the sky, the sun, and relighting the whole scene using painterly style exposing, and also the relighting features available in this software is going to get us from here to there. So today we're going to use an application that I have really been falling in love with. It is not Photoshop. It is not Lightroom. It is not the combination of the two. I've been using those apps for years and paying for them for years. And the thing is that they are super powerful, but there is a new player in the game. There are several new players in the game, and the one that we're going to talk about today is both more powerful than Lightroom, not quite as powerful as Photoshop, but easier to use, and way cheaper than both of them. Today we're going to be using Luminar, and you can grab Luminar down in the description. There is a link to get it. It's like something like less than $70, one-time fee. That's it. You own the app, no subscriptions. You can buy add-ons if you want. I have never purchased any. I load all of my own, but they are available for folks if you'd like to get them. We're going to jump in. Okay, so we're here in Luminar, and I've already loaded our photo in question, okay? A lot of people saw the original photo that I had posted, and they just took it at face value, like, wow, what a great scene. But the thing is like, now that you see the original photo, what do you think about it, right? I look at it, and as I was shooting it through my lens, I knew the tools I had available to me, and I shot that thinking, I really love these little circular shapes right here, and I love that there is just one little subject out there and it's just being dwarfed by this massive landscape. That is a common trend, a common compositional technique with photographers these days, is that when you have a grandiose scene, you want some kind of subject so that your audience really understands the scale of the scene. And so this little boat right here is my way of saying, look at the scale of this scene. So I thought that was really good. And I knew after the fact, I knew I was going to replace the sky. I knew I was probably going to throw some mountains in there. I knew I was going to relight the thing. I knew I was going to throw some sunshine in if I could, if it made sense. And so with all that, I pulled up, I took the shot, knowing that it was a mediocre shot just by itself, but also knowing what I could do with it with these powerful tools that we're going to jump into. Okay, so the first thing I just want to make mention of in Luminar is that it is a layers-based application. And so up here in the upper right, we have our layers, and we can do a lot on that first layer, but we may end up diving in to create more layers just so we can make some more complex masks when it comes to relighting. We're going to start with the mountains though, because I think that is objectively the biggest change and also one of the easiest. We're going to jump straight into our creator panel, and as you can see right over here, we have this tool, this panel called the AI Augmented Sky. So we're going to drop that down, and we have this tool called Object Selection, and now we have all of these things that we can choose from. We can choose a balloon, a hot air balloon. We can choose extra clouds. We have an eagle in here. We have all kinds of mountains, and there are a lot of stock mountains that come with Luminar. I've added my own. You can add your own too. You can add all kinds of things into this area for objects that you can easily place later without having to jump into a more hefty program like Photoshop, for example. So we're just going to scroll through some of these mountains, and I'm going to show you just what's available, just stock. So this is actually the very first choice, and I really love these mountains. And obviously, just like, look how good they already fit in. All I did was click 2 drop downs, and the software automatically understood where my skyline was and is now allowing me to drop things in the background. Look, we still have our original sky. That looks like a sick photograph right there. It could use some minor tweaks, and it's ready to roll, but we're going to get a little crazier with the compositing, and we are going to jump into the AI sky replacement. Now that we have a base going for our mountains, we want to jump in and see if we can do anything better with our sky. So again, we go into sky replacement, drop down, sky selection, and holy crap, look at all of these skies. Again, I have added a bunch of these in, but there are a lot that just comes stock with Luminar. I'm not talking like 4 skies. Like, there's a solid maybe 20 skies or so that just come stock, maybe 15, that just come stock with Luminar. All right, so I have jumped around and tried a whole bunch of skies, and I've landed on dramatic sky number 1. And right now, does not look that great. But I have a secret weapon, and that weapon is the sun. The sun with some sun rays is really going to blast this photo out. So we're going to jump into the sun rays area. Like, it's literally that easy. It says sun rays, right? Makes perfect sense. So we're going to place the center of the sun, and we've got this dot now that we can drag around, and we are just going to place that right over here. I got some constructive criticism when I posted my original photo. I had the sun over in this area, and if you look at the way the light is hitting the mountains in particular, it should be like way over here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to split the difference there, and I'm going to drop it right here. So theoretically, it's going to look weird because all of this light is hitting this area. But I have to say, I think personally, this is just a guess, and this is coming off of my own experience as I'm scrolling through feeds and looking through photos, I'm not always stopping and looking and being amazed by the photos that look perfectly realistic, right? There's something about what we're gonna do right here with this sun that isn't perfectly real. It is surreal. It's extra. And so I don't really care about making it perfect. I care about making it pop. So you can see that we just did this sky placement for the sun, but literally nothing happened. And that's because we have our amount set to 0. So we're just gonna bump that up. And that is just a general slider. I like to think of it kind of like opacity. And so if we pull that all the way up, it's just gonna be like, oh my God, like what you can't see anything else in the photo. The sun just becomes the focal point of everything. And so if you wanted to do it that way, you could, that's your taste. But I think the boat really is the focal point here that I want people to be attracted to. And we have these kind of leading lines right here with these circles that's drawing people's attention towards that boat. So I really want to make sure that people see the boat. So I don't want the sun lines too crazy. And so there we go. I'm just gonna leave the sun at that. I might drop it just a tad bit lower, and look how easy that is to change. You can go back and change this stuff so easily. So we're just gonna drop that down, and we've got our sun. Now we are looking towards relighting the scene and making sure everything looks real. And so we just added a whole bunch of light into this scene. So we want to make sure that the light we added matches the color temperature of the rest of the photo that we took. The color temperature is just how warm or cold, or another way to think about that is how orange or blue your photograph is. There's really no such thing as like a perfect white to the human eye. There's always some color in there, whether it be generally orange, blue, teal, or magenta. And so you're always trying to balance those 4 colors to get what you consider to be a proper white balance in your photo. And so we're looking a little warm to me here. And so I'm going to go into the sun rays. I'm going to go into the advanced settings, and we can just warm that right up. It's literally called sun warmth. Like, how easy is that, right? And so we just push that slider up just a little bit, and it's only affecting our little sun bubble right here. It's just affecting the radius of this sun. So we can have individual control over the rays as well. And so now we're just warming them up just a tad, and just going by eye check right now, just spot checking this to see if it looks real to our eyes. And so now that we have the sun kind of looking good, the sky looking good, what I notice is that the sun is dumping all of this extra light onto our scene, but our scene is kind of flat lighting right here, even though we have these rays shooting at it. And so what I'm going to do is go in and make a new layer and start adjusting the exposure. Now you could do that straight away in the base layer, but that's going to affect everything, and you could create a mask so it only affects a few things, but I feel like adjustment layers are the better way to go long term. You have more individual control over them. You can go back in your original layer and relight the whole scene if you like, which is something I usually do. So I'm going to go with this plus sign and go new adjustment layer. And all adjustment layers are, for those who are new to them, is just a blank layer that is completely transparent, that is stacked on top of your original photograph. And then when you make changes like the exposures we're about to change, it will change everything under that layer, but you can start to delete some of that layer out, mask some of it out, erase some of it out, and that will let you get these adjustments directly onto the places that you want them rather than the entire image. That's something that's super powerful as far as relighting scenes. So we're going to jump in, now that we have our adjustment layer selected, jump into the lighting panel. It's called light, amazing, right? And we are just going to raise our exposure up. And this whole time, I'm just focused on this area right here. Just focused on it. How is that looking? I don't care about how the rest of the photograph looks because we're going to erase that out. And so I feel like this is pretty good right here as an overall light. Maybe a little bit more. We can always go back and readjust this later. And then I also want to increase the temperature just a little bit because the sun rays is just like beating right down on it. And so if our sun rays are warm, then we also want what they're beating down on to be warm. Now that we have our scene recolored in a weird way, we want to take some of that away. And so I'm going to go back to my adjustment layer and I'm going to edit, and I'm going to start with a radial mask. And that is just drawing a circle basically. And so I'm going to click to draw this circle, and I'm going to make it a little bit weird because I just want it to cover this line of circles because that's where my sun rays are really hitting, plus maybe a little bit past that. And so I'm going to stick this on my main focus, and you'll notice that it just like darkened the exposure for one area, and so that's not good. And so what we really want to do is invert that mask so it is the opposite of what it is. And there we have it. And so even this is looking a little bit fake for me. It's looking a little bit much, and so we're going to feather out just a little bit more, until we feel like we have it right. And I feel like that's it right there. Maybe even a little bit more. And I feel like we're good there. And there's a lot of tweaks. There's a lot more tweaks you can make to this. You can add a vignette around the whole thing. You can defocus those mountains in the background so you have some depth of field going. You can add landscape enhancements. You can do all these kinds of things with artificial intelligence inside its application Luminar. It is amazing. Click the link down below, and if you got something out of this, click the thumbs and subscribe too. I'm Kai Sosceles. This is 4 Petal Films. See you next time.